What I would like to talk to you about today is some recent developments that have occurred in Germany and that I believe create an opportunity for Kyrgyzstan. They create the opportunity for Kyrgyzstan to take the label made in Kyrgyzstan, which is until now hardly known, into something that stands for being authentic, for being modern, for being cool, something that has a spirit. But let me maybe explain to you how I got to this conclusion. Next slide, please. Следующий slide. Еще раз. One more. Next. Следующий. Спасибо. So, well, let me start here. About 2 years ago, when I first came to Kyrgyzstan, I found it curious that whenever I told people that I'm from Germany, they kind of had the same images, the same reactions. So I asked more around, and I asked people, what is it that you think, or that you know about Germany? And well, what do you think? Any ideas? I'm sure you have some images in mind. Okay, yeah, I'm already getting something that I also came across. So next one, please. Следующий slide. So these were the things that I came across. So whenever I said I was from Germany, people said, you know, oh, Germany, the country of cars, Mercedes, BMW, the country of beer and Oktoberfest, these types of things, or the country of punctuality. Actually, you know, when I am reminded of this whenever I'm meeting my friends here, but because I'm usually a little bit late, so whenever I'm coming late, they're saying, Toby, what happened to you? You know, you're no longer German. You're more and more turning into a Kyrgyz person. Yeah, well, another one is also that I hear a lot. The last one, unfortunately, Hitler. It's true. It's also part of our history. The guy with a little beard. And well, the thing is, these things are certainly true. They're part of us or of our history. But, you know, they're not all. So it is true that about 50 or 60 years ago, after we got rid of the guy with the little beard, we were actually, you know, producing cars, producing machines, exporting them worldwide, coming to work on time every morning, drinking our beer in the evening, and things were pretty much okay, and people were happy with it. But then something's changed. Something really strange happened. Следующий slide. So what happened is this. People got confused in recent years. They're really confused. They no longer understand the world around themselves. And I was wondering, what has happened? Well, I think what happened is that they were just, you know, turning on the TV, looking at their computers and seeing images like this. Следующий slide. So, what I believe is they were shocked by the images that they saw. So, for example, they were seeing like images of children, millions of children living in extreme poverty around the world. They were seeing images of environmental disasters, such as oil spills, such as chemical waste being dumped. They were reminded of climate change coming up. They saw the ice peaks, the North Pole melting, and the sea levels rising. They saw a gigantic tsunami coming, heading towards Japan and destroying the nuclear power plant in Fukushima in 2011. And I could 2011, and I could name many more other things. Or one is they saw the financial crisis coming up and a euro crisis, and nowadays, you know, several European countries are on the verge of collapse, actually, or very close to it. And the thing is, these things, you know, people couldn't understand them. They were wondering, is there maybe something wrong with the system we're living in? Next, please. Следующий slide. So people got really angry, you know. People started protesting on the street. They went to the streets and protested against, you know, big banks and large corporations, accusing them of putting profits over people. And they were protesting against the government that weren't doing against these things that were going wrong. And this was the first reaction. But then there was also another reaction, which I found more interesting. Slide, please. And the thing is that people started changing their consumption habits. So, for example, people started, you know, relying more and more on renewable energies. You know, people started thinking less of cars as something that they need to own, but rather that something that they might have to use in order to gain mobility. So they were using more public transport and car-sharing systems. People started buying more and more fair trade products such as chocolate, banana, coffee, and people also changed the way they went shopping and the way they ate. So after a time of, you know, eating a lot of processed fruit from large supermarkets, these days people actually in Germany prefer going to local markets, buying in a personal interaction, buying, you know, fresh organic food which is regionally grown. And all these things are just examples for changing consumption habits. And the other side, I believe, of the coin is that not only the consumption habits are changing, but in consequence also, you know, businesses have to change, because people are demanding they're demanding authenticity, They're demanding that businesses are environmentally sustainable, that they're socially responsible. So the large corporations, well, in order to keep making profits, they just have to adapt to these changes. And what is also interesting, I believe, is that there are more and more smaller businesses, new business coming up that are saying, okay, we do want to make profits, but in addition to that, we want to make sure that we work environmentally sustainably and that we fulfill social responsibility. And I believe there are even signs that the whole concept of economic growth is being redefined, less or away from defining it only in quantitative terms and more also in terms of qualitative terms. So, okay, the next slide already happened, well, that's great. So this is where I would come right now. So why am I telling you all this? Well, I'm telling you all this because I think it also has implications for Kyrgyzstan. The next time, after I went back to Germany, after my first visit, I asked my friends back in Germany, what is it that you know about Kyrgyzstan? And any ideas here? What do you think people in Germany know or think of Kyrgyzstan? Could be right, but I mean, there's also something else. Next slide, please. Actually, most people know nothing about Kyrgyzstan. They've never even heard of this country. So, what is the implication of this? Slide, please. So I think there are two types of implications for the Kyrgyzstan economy in this. Well, the bad news is that Kyrgyzstan has no reputation or hardly any reputation whatsoever. Unlike most countries, if you look at the world, most countries they stand for something. For example, Germany stands for cars and machines. China stands for being the low-cost factory of the world. Bangladesh is, the textile workshop, and well, Kyrgyzstan is not really known in economic terms really in the world. But the good news is, I believe, is that it's the opportunity to tell a whole new story to the world. So what I mean by this, or if you look a little bit closer at Kyrgyzstan, it's actually fulfilling quite a lot of prerequisites already that match these new consumption patterns that I've just described in Germany and elsewhere in the world. So for example, in Kyrgyzstan, it has beautiful landscapes, lots of natural materials. It's very green. It's actually generating most of its energy from hydropower, from renewable sources. Secondly, it has a young and dynamic population, which is interested also in in change. It's also largely untouched by large corporations, which and all these factors, I believe, they're making the country more authentic and more interesting and kind of fitting to these new demand patterns in Germany and elsewhere in the world. So let me give you a little example of what I think can be done. Slide, please. So here's what we do with a social business. What we are doing is, it's quite simple. We are producing design sleeves for mobile gadgets such as laptops or tablets or smartphones. Actually, pretty much the sleeves like you all got here in the room today from TEDxBishkek, like this laptop sleeve. What however makes our product special is the following. Well, first, we are only using natural materials, so natural felt, voylak in Russian, and leather, both found here in Kyrgyzstan. Secondly, we are merging traditional Kyrgyz design patterns with modern European designs to create a new product. And thirdly, what is very important to us is that we make sure that we have a fair production process. So what we want to do is we want to empower rural felt producers in Kyrgyzstan, which otherwise have little access to international markets. We also want to make sure that we are also making sure that social and environmental standards are fulfilled. And well, obviously, we want to make sure that the people involved in the production process also get a fair wage for it. And well, how do we communicate this story? Slide, please. It's quite simple, actually. What we do is we tell the story of what we're doing on our website. So there, for example, you could see that, well, currently we're engaged in the development of the designs. And we are also working together with this woman, who is Kerim Khan from Toktonalieva. It's a village about 1 hour drive away from Bishkek. She's actually also here with us in the room, so you might have seen her during the coffee breaks, for example. And the point is, we really want to present the persons behind the product and the whole story behind the product. So on the website, you can read about this right now. In the future, all the products will actually come with an individual name tag of the producer that made the product. So meaning that the person buying a product in Germany, for example, can read who made this specific product for him or her. and read about this person and about the story behind and see photos and even engage via social media. So this is how we want to create authenticity and transparency and fulfill these upcoming demand patterns. Slide. But this was just one example. The bigger picture actually is that these new and evolving global demand patterns that I've just described, I think are offering great opportunities for Kyrgyzstan, also in many other areas. So just to give you a few examples, there's some cotton and wool production, there are dry fruits and nuts, for example. So why not take these products that are already there, but upgrade them, have them fulfill higher social and environmental standards, and sell them as organic and fair trade products, and also get higher prices for it. Or another obvious area would be, the green energy sector, which is already there, but which could be further developed. Or adventure tourism would also be interesting. It is already here, but it's still very small, and I'm sure it can be exploited much more, in considering that there are more and more people interested in experiencing adventures and in experiencing countries like Kyrgyzstan. But these, again, were just a few examples. I'm sure there are many more products, and there might even be services that can be found here or that could be developed that match these new demand patterns in Germany and elsewhere in the world. So the point that I'm trying to make is that I believe this is not just, these changing patterns are not just a temporary trend. I think they're rather the beginning of a new era, of a new time, which is also fundamentally changing the way business is being done. And so this would mean for Kyrgyzstan, I don't think, given its small size, and its geographic location, just looking at the world map, I don't think it would make sense for Kyrgyzstan to follow a development path of countries such as China or South Korea, which were successful with exporting economies. This wouldn't work in Kyrgyzstan. However, I think it does make sense for Kyrgyzstan to take the leap and to jump into this new niche that is evolving, which is actually getting bigger and bigger. So I think it would make sense for the label Made in Kyrgyzstan to stand for something, to stand for something unique, something authentic, something cool, something modern, something that has spirit. What it takes then is for people to take this opportunity and make it a reality. Thank you very much. Spasiba.